QQQ sold off over 1% last night after reaching highs of 522.96. A fantastic rally yesterday from lows of 513 to 523 was a nice 1.73 move. Okay, 1.73%. Now, I did sell off down to 518 this morning, which was a 1% sell off. And thinking, hey, maybe it could sell off even more, I took a trade on SQQQ. And in doing so, we had a great setup. It was selling off, we were getting lower highs, and we weren't necessarily getting lower lows, but we were getting lower highs. Then it pushes up, tests this moving average, and gets rejected. Now, within that time span of, say, about an hour, we traded, and I tried to trade this breakout. Now, why didn't I buy at support? I don't know, right? But what I did was I bought at resistance levels for a break, and the second I bought that breakout, boom, rejected. Now, I did buy 50 shares up at 23.86, and I did wait for that confirmation to bounce. I bought the bounce, another 50 shares at 23.70, and then about 11 shares at 23.72. I wanted that one share here to track as the day goes on. But I did really well bringing my average down from, a high of 23.86, which is way up here, to down here, 23.77. Now, I was waiting for that breakout for QQQ to sell off even more, but the sell off never happened. It actually began to recover slightly. So with that said, I actually got out of my position. I managed my risk, sold 100 shares at 23.57, resulting in a $22 loss, or 0.84% on my small account challenge. Nothing too crazy. Now, even holding that 10 shares, 23.57, could have resulted in, a nice potentially, saving another $2, $3, $4 here, only being down about 18 bucks. Nonetheless, though, more than, the best thing I could say, if you didn't watch the live stream this morning, go back and watch the live stream. I talk about my entries, I talk about my exits, I talk even down here. You get to see me think out loud about, hey, do I sell and cut my losses? Can this recover? Is it going to sell off more? All that thought process within the live stream. So definitely check it out after you watch this. But to summarize the live stream, I should not be buying these breakouts anymore. When I'm buying the breakout, I shouldn't be going so heavy, but also I need confirmation of the breakout. Pushing up from 23.79 to 23.87 was 8 cents. An 8-cent move, even though it retested and confirmed support, we needed a second confirmation and there wasn't there. It sold off. So by selling off, I could have did better by managing my risk on this trade in particular and getting out of the trade. Instead of holding and doubling down and getting more in, I could have got out here, waited, and got a much better entry down here. Instead, even if this would have gone all the way back up to this 23.77, which it did, 23.77, I would have broke even. So then this would have been a $2,000 trade to break even. And with that saying, there's no money to be made there. I could have waited a day, or I could have waited another hour for this to pop up just to break even. There was no sign of it actually pushing back up above. And that's my own fault because why? On the 5-minute chart, I noticed that QQQ was below that moving average. And whenever it's below the moving average, we tend to see a lot more selling pressure like this. A lot of selling pressure when it's below that moving average. But we didn't get that today. We barely got any of that today. We got a little bit this morning, but not a lot. So then I looked at the 30-minute and I was like, oh, that's why, right? Because previous resistance within this channel, right? You see this here, previous resistance, then created a strong support here. So now you have this golden yellow line of support and resistance, and it's a very strong support. Now, where did it bounce off of? If I move this over, it bounced off the 200-day moving average. Can you believe that? And off of that 518.43 support. So because that was a very strong, I also had a little bias of, okay, look, if it goes below this, we're going to sell off hard. And SQQQ can push up even harder. I mean, we could go up 5% on 100 shares on $2,000. I mean, we're talking $100 day if it's sold off. Well, it didn't. It actually got rejected, and it's the the market is holding up rather well right now. A lot of choppiness, to say the least, a lot of choppiness. But as soon as it broke above this and it held as it showed confirmation that it was above this level, I got out. I got out of my SQQQ. Do you see that? Even though it confirmed that it was getting rejected, it still did not get rejected because SQQQ still held at its own support, which is insane to say. So, seeing how QQQ has resistance, right? Has resistance right around 520-ish. I could have done a better job by waiting for it to hit that resistance and get rejected. Therefore, then buying in where I sold. Where I sold, I could have bought in. And by doing that, we could have been up 20 cents a share, almost 1%, which again wouldn't have been crazy. It would have only been about 20 something dollars on 100 shares, but that would have been perfect compared to losing the $20. We would have been on the opposite end. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recap from my live day trade this morning with our Investing for Beginners community team. We are restructuring the channel just a little bit. I know we've done it in the past where, I'm trying to find out what works for me and what works for you guys. And I think our Investing for Beginners community is probably going to be the best way to start investing. Day trading is extremely risky. So is investing. Trade at your own risk. But at the same time, day trading with less than $25,000, and in my case, less than even $10,000, less than $5,000 can be very challenging. When you use your buying power, you're done for the day. You don't have any more buying power until the next day. So if you use it all and you get a good move, you can't get in on that move. So it's really hard to scale if you use too much of your size on a bad trade. Now, what if you don't use enough size? What if, I took this trade and it went well and I didn't buy 100 shares? Maybe I only bought 10 shares. Well, I wouldn't have made $20. I would have only made $2. Same thing with losses. If I would have only had, 10, 20 shares, I would have only lost $1 or $2. So by understanding that, it definitely makes it more challenging on a small account to grow it. So my thought process would be, let's focus more on swing trading, on holding our positions a little longer, on finding good deals that seem like a great value to us. Maybe not always shorting the market unless the market is showing signs of weakness. And we've done that in the past. We made hundreds of dollars with SQQQ as the market sells off the past 2 or 3 months. But now as the markets shift, what are we doing? We're almost back up to all-time highs. Do we continue to try to short? Do we try to go long and then it plays against us and it begins to sell off? There's a lot that can go on here. This is one of the biggest sell-offs I've ever witnessed or seen in my trading career. 25% sell-off in 48 days. Okay, 25% sell-off in 40 days. I don't think I've ever seen that before in history. I mean, the market fluctuates 8 to 10% a year, up and down. This was just unheard of. And then the rally to go from 402 to 523, 30% rally. 30%. That means TQQQ has literally doubled from $35 to $70. It's up 104%. Now here's the question. Do we continue to push up higher? Or does this begin to get rejected and we can then begin to make some money on SQQQ? As you can see here, I've traded SQQQ. We can make some decent money. We can make 100, 150% profit if the market sold off again like that, but it's probably not going to. If anything, we might get a 10, 20% sell off. Maybe if we're lucky, a 5% sell off. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens with the market as time goes on. Do we continue to sell off, or do we actually get back up and begin to get back up to those 540 levels where we were at just, months ago? With that said, I appreciate you guys' time. If you want to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, smash the notification bell, and join our Discord. First link in the description below, so you can learn how to become a more profitable trader. Thank you for your time, and like always, let's remember to end the year on a green note. See you later, team.